Don't do stupid Anonymous is a group of hackers that we call hacktivists. People should be concerned. Hi, this is Asela Waidyalankara and I'm a cybersecurity professional. Anonymous is a group of hackers that we call hacktivists. Literally, they've been around since the early 2000s. They were predominantly in a social media platform called 4chan. So from that, they evolved into what it is today and the media sensation that it is today. So in a nutshell, Anonymous gets involved in activities using their hacking capabilities or their ability to disrupt systems, government systems or computer systems, websites and digital assets, cybersecurity, cyber assets and so on and so forth. So that's literally what Anonymous does. It's activism using their hacking abilities. Listen, Anonymous has developed this reputation globally that they are a moral force. That's sort of what the media portrays as well, given some of the activism they've done in the past. So it's sometimes justified when people place their trust on Anonymous. But what you have to understand is Anonymous themselves is a loosely tied hacker organization. So there's no central command structure or there's no proper organization as such. This is more, think of it more like a club where different hackers do come out and they band together for a common cause for a short period of time. And that, I think, is a fair assessment of what Anonymous is. So in that sense, is Anonymous good or bad? From where I'm standing as a cybersecurity professional, I think it's a bad thing because they are disrupting systems, they are disrupting digital assets, and they are sometimes disrupting work, important things that have to be done. And because of that, from this, where I'm standing as a professional in the field of cybersecurity, I think it's my professional opinion that it's a bad thing. Well, I can understand why this started. I mean, there was a call on social media, a hashtag that organically happened in social media asking Anonymous to come in and intervene. And it's perfectly justifiable given the situation that we're in right now, the situation in the country, the frustration of the people. But why this is a bad idea is because through Anonymous, and like I said, because the nature of Anonymous and it's a hacker collective, by inviting them to come and highlighting Sri Lanka, you are asking maybe unwanted cyber criminals and other elements to step into Sri Lanka as well. That's number one, which actually puts a lot of citizens' data at risk, because the way Anonymous operates is they go after government digital infrastructure, so government websites, government services, e-government, so on. So a lot of people's data, a lot of citizens' data is stored on those websites. And most of that data is what we call PIIs, personally identifiable information, your phone number, your NIC, your physical address, medical information, passport information, so many other things. It's because the government has so much information on you. Because we have invited these guys over, despite, let's say, somebody doing this as a disruption to pressure the government and the leadership, there might be other entities that take opportunity of what's happening here to sell that data, to grab that data, and to use that data in a malicious manner that would impact you as an individual in the future, where you will be targeted, you will be attacked, there'll be emails sent to you disguised as your bank or something else trying to get more information from you and put you at risk. And that's why it's a bad idea. I think anyway, anything related to government right now needs to be on a heightened readiness. We saw basically certain government websites get affected even now. So I believe this is still the first wave. It will come in waves. So there will be a series of attacks, there'll be a pause, and there'll be a series of attacks again. So usually that's the modus operandi for Anonymous. So initially, I think the initial target would be government, Then you have state-owned enterprises, basically organizations that are connected to the government or either owned by the government, like airlines, banks, and etc., that are tied in some way to the government. And also entities that have a close working relationship with the government, so that may be media entities or any other entities that may the hackers may have an understanding that has a direct correlation with the present government. Those are sort of the right now the attack scope that we see. But also on top of all that, it's basically what we call the pipelines. So that's your ISPs, your internet service providers, basically your mobile service provider. So all of those companies are at risk, or anyone who is in charge of the digital infrastructure of the country. So that's also something that they do go after. So that's also another entity that may be at risk. People should be concerned because right now what you as an individual can do is very little. Yes, you should continue perhaps to have your good practices of updating your password regularly, wherever you can, having two-factor authentication. If you need to do backups, you need to do regular backups. So those are some of the regular advice that we give people. But as an individual, if your data is indeed stored in a government system, and that's something you have to do. For example, if it's the passport office, they will have your passport details, your address, and so on. So many information about you. I think you should be nervous because that data may not be secure at the moment because there are so many people now trying to disrupt that data or try to grab that data. So you should be a little nervous, yes. You should go back to basics. You should, if you're an organization, I think you should look at what your cybersecurity plans and policies are. You should talk to your IT team, sit them down, and maybe develop a plan or have some kind of dry run of, let's say we do get attacked, what do we need to do, guys? What are our plans in place? What are our contingencies? So that will give you a general idea of what you're prepared, how well you're prepared and what your preparedness is. Are you ready, or do you need to work on a few more things before you get there? So that's number one as companies. As individuals, like I said, because your data is now with someone else, it's a little difficult, but you need to have those cyber hygiene practices that we say, which is update your password regularly. And if you are having a problem remembering your passwords, and I know a lot of people do, and they tend to recycle the same password over and over again in different social media platforms or any other places where it's easy to remember. So my advice to you is don't do that. Change your password, or there's a little app called Password Manager. Some are paid services, some you can get for free. And this, what it does is creates a really long, complex password that only that particular app knows. And you just have to remember the login details of that particular app only. So it will store all those passwords and it will prompt you to log in to all those platforms. So that's an additional layer of security that you have. Really complex, really long passwords is the way to go. And also wherever you can, on your social media, on your emails, or any other important platform that you interact with, make sure if the option is given for two-factor authentication, make sure you enable it. If you are doing any banking and you're using a personal email, my advice to you is create a different email just exclusively for banking activities. So that will actually give you sort of a space where you're just using a particular email only for banking, and the rest of your personal, social media, and all the other stuff can come to the other email. So that sort of separates the important financial transactions from your other email updates. So it's these, and keep backing up. So if you have important information on your machine or your phone, backup. Make sure there's either backed up into a cloud or backed up into a USB stick or a portable hard disk or something, where you have at least a backup. So if your device does go down for some reason, you have a recent backup that you can take and work from there. So these are some of the tips an individual can follow. But again, you should be very nervous if what is transpiring does transpire in full. So I think what this incident has taught us is before we ask on faceless, nameless hacking groups to, intervene on our behalf, at least do your research, find out who these guys are, or talk to somebody who has experience in the subject. Get that understanding and what is anonymous, what have they done before. They are not an investigative agency, they're not a group of lawyers. What you want done will not be done by them. So whatever the objectives you had, which are correct by the way, to call them, will not be fulfilled by them. So you have to be conscious of that. And also with them, there are so many other bad elements that would come into the country and disrupt our systems. Right now we are having a forex crisis in the country. Whatever the government-owned websites or systems or whatever is run by taxpayer money. So if these systems go down, taxpayer money will be used to get these systems back online. Even forex needs to be used sometimes in extreme situations to get these things back online. And I don't think we need to add to the challenges that we have already. So which is why I urge everybody to be very conscious. Next time there is such a trend, understand what's it about, who are these people especially, and do your own research. I mean, the internet is a wonderful place. You can do your own research now and find out who these guys are, what have they done. And then you will see your objectives of calling them here probably will not be met. And there are so many other avenues and people who have done much more work that can get the objectives that you wanted by calling anonymous here. So I think you should rethink that and stop jumping in on this trend, and hopefully let the professionals handle the waves that are coming in us. It's difficult, but hopefully we'll try to get over it, just like we're trying to get over all the challenging situations in the country.